All right, so today we're here with Mark and Peter, as well as, of course, John from PayBotX, and we're going to talk about Mark and Peter's amazing results in just the first 2 months of the program. They've signed on about 10 or so accounts, and that's something that's, I think, some kind of record or something like that, because that's definitely pretty impressive. And so we're going to talk through basically your unique process for prospecting as well as closing deals. And so first off, welcome to the call. And do you want to maybe spend a quick minute or two kind of giving us a brief intro about yourselves, as well as kind of what got you into merchant services?
How's it going? My name's Peter, and this is my buddy Mark. First off, my dad owned a small plumbing company, so they were getting hit with hard credit card bills, and looking into how you can help small businesses save money. We came across you guys on the internet, and looking into it, it's just really awesome to be able to help out small businesses.
Gotcha.
We know a lot of small business owners in our area, so we've connected with them, and we're saving people a good amount of money.
So basically, it was more of almost like a personal thing, because you directly had somebody in your family that was a small business owner, and so kind of start maybe off of, did it almost start from kind of a desire to help your own first, and then kind of just seeing the opportunity to help other people as well?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, in that case, I think from here on out, we'll just go ahead and ask you guys to walk through your process, right? What's worked for you guys in terms of meeting these local business owners in your community, how you start those conversations, to some questions that they might ask. The floor is yours, and there's no, the more detailed, the better, right? Because if someone's watching this, they definitely want to know some of the specifics if you're able to share them. So go for it.
Yeah, and also just really quickly, Mark and Peter, they signed up around September 18th.
Mm.
And I don't know when they officially got started, but that's literally less than a month and a half ago. But I don't know if they hit the ground running on September 18th, or it still took them a couple weeks for all their paperwork. But yeah, so far you guys hold the record as far as the most accounts submitted in that fast of a period of time, in less than a month and a half, over 10 accounts. So congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
We personally just, we're both bartenders in Danbury, and we know a lot of people from the bar that we work at, and a lot of them are small business owners. So just getting the word out to them. At the beginning we were kind of like slow about it, just not to push the issue. We did a couple of Facebook posts that turned out a lot of interest from a lot of people that we knew. Handful of meetings that we ended up going on, and to our surprise, a lot of them were very interested. Some didn't take, but a handful did. And we have one account. She's a hair salon owner, and she does a lot of business, and she's already telling the world about us. And I mean, it's going to open up an avenue of fellow hair salon owners and barber shops and whatnot, and those possibilities are endless. So that's just one avenue that we're going down. We have others in the works as well.
I would say that tapping into your network of people friends of the people and coming at it that you can help them out and save some money. One of the things that we have found is that, of course, people can be, they give a little pushback when immediately you're talking about a cash discount program. So we actually take an angle where we're credit card processing consultants. We can come in, especially with the help of John Sarabia over here, and take a look at somebody's processing bill and get rid of their BS fees and save them some money. And that's the biggest and first way we could help you out. And then we introduce the cash discount program right in there, and that saves them a lot of extra money on top of that. So we basically make ourselves be the credit card processing professionals for these small companies and show them how they can save big bucks.
Interesting. Okay, I haven't heard that angle before. So you're telling people, you're kind of positioning yourselves, branding yourselves as credit card processing experts, and then you kind of gets a foot in the door. There's a little less resistance. Because I'm assuming the resistance comes from people already kind of having a gist of what cash discount is, and maybe they're already either using it or just have a certain belief around how it's not going to be good for their customers.
Well, there's been a few people that have been very resistant to it and like adamant about no. When I go out and I see those charges for the credit card use, I hate it. I don't even want to do it for my business. And at that point, we just kind of measure the room. We don't want to we want to make some kind of sale. If it's not the crash discount program, we'll go lower their rate. And then with those experiences, we've discovered that it's probably better to start off with we can lower your rate. But if you're interested, we can reverse the whole situation and save you all the money. That's when they can decide whether, what's best for them, and what they find more acceptable.
Interesting.
Yeah. One thing, Aaron, that is key is that a lot of business owners, they sign up to get a merchant account, whether it was a year ago, 3 years ago, 5 years ago, even 10 years ago when they started their business. They signed up for a certain rate. Things have changed over time. And a lot of times the rate they signed up for was introductory rate. And as things go, processors start adding up fees, PCI non-compliance fee, non-qualified rates. They may have got a low introductory rate, but then they didn't ask any questions, and they're getting hit with a non-qualified rate as well for certain types of cards. So most of the time we can go in, look at the statement and be like, wow, they're getting charged 5%, 4%, even 7%. And we can reduce those rates and still make money on the processing, even if it isn't cash discount.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, that's a different approach, but I can definitely see why it's warranted for certain situations. So I'm sure that there's definitely sometimes resistance to cash discount, sometimes pretty strong resistance from some of the merchants out there. And so this is a great way to get your foot in the door and then maybe open up that conversation down the road. What other kind of questions or objections have you maybe encountered, and kind of how have you handled them?
I'd say the cash discount is probably our biggest hurdle.
People get really concerned that they're going to upset their customers. That's the biggest pushback that we've gotten. But when you try to explain it, that people are used to charges and getting these extra upcharges, especially since COVID and with all the extra fees that people are hit with these days, and the way that you can really help support your local small business by not being against these extra fees. And plus, you got to explain to the merchant that you're not forcing the fees on the customer. If they want to pay in cash or by check, they don't have to hit the fees anyway. So some merchants will say, I'm just going to raise the price of my product or my service to cover the fees. And that's fine, but we like to use the word transparency when we're talking to the business owners. So instead of taking a $40 bill and raising it up a couple dollars, if you can put the cash discount into that same bill, you can show the person where they're actually able to save money off the top. And customers really appreciate the honest business owner who's not just jacking up prices across the board, but really getting the customer and the business owner at the end to show how you're being honest and saving the customer some money without jacking up the prices.
It seems like you guys have a pretty seamless process where you guys position yourselves as credit card processing experts. The people just kind of open right up and like, hey, cool, like we'll come take a look at what I got and like show you their statements. Like, is that process pretty just seamless?
Well, like we said, most of the people we're dealing with, we know these people through somebody. So we already have sort of a foot in the door. So we're not strangers.
Yeah.
We're not walking in blind. They know the general gist of what we do, and then they're already willing to hear what we have to say. So when we do have to say what we say, it's either they like it or they hate it, and we try to explain to them why they shouldn't hate it, or what works for them better. And we've had great conversations with everybody that we've talked to. Some are just no, can't do it. All right, no problem. We'll check back in a little while, and they're fine with it.
Yeah, and Aaron, one thing that I found is that even with my own clients that I've had for years and they're not on cash discount, when I first presented it to them, they were against it, but I followed up every 3 months. Said, by the way, have you thought about, switching over to the cash discount? Okay, great, no problem. You're fine, great. Next time I talk to them again, hey, did you think about the cash discount? And by the third or fourth time I've told them about it, they're like, yeah, let's do it. Because it's already developed in their head and they've thought about it. They've gone out to eat at other restaurants where they were charged a cash discount. They see that it wasn't so bad. They've gone to other salons, things like that. Sometimes it takes them a while to grasp it and really get comfortable with it. But the way I look at it, as long as I'm there when they're ready for it, then, we'll put them on the regular processing, but I'm going to be there when they're ready to convert to cash discount.
And that's exactly been one of our big goals moving forward, especially with there's a golf course that we're trying to process right now that you're helping us out with, John. And that's the guy was so hard against the cash discount program. Like, no way, I'm never going to do that. If you want to raise the prices, raise the prices. So we're like, all right, no problem. Our goal is to get in there, start processing, and visit him every couple of weeks, every couple of months, and make sure we have that rapport with him where when he's ready to do that cash discount program, we're his go-to guys.
Absolutely.
We're just about to send, before we started doing the interview, I was about to send him the 2 proposals that you came up with.
Mhm.
I just texted him this morning. He's willing to receive them and take a look at them. So if he sees savings, they'll probably go with us. There'd be no reason not to. And then once we get in, like you said, every few months we'll go back like, hey, they thought about it, the cash discount, maybe you want to do it, maybe you don't, and not bother him about it, but maybe eventually he'll do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Now, it seems like most of your success has been through just, obviously people you already know in the community. It seems like both of you are pretty well connected to people and other small business owners just through, friends, family, and just kind of knowing people in your community. Any kind of thoughts around expanding to, obviously there's referrals, which is great. And that's obviously the ideal way to get introduced to more business owners. But what about kind of prospecting cold of like, people who don't know who you are? Any thoughts around maybe starting to do that? And if so, kind of what's your approach for that?
So actually, we do have a couple people that have been a couple customers actually that have been complete cold calls.
Okay.
So a couple months, maybe a couple weeks back, I decided, okay, I'm going to get on the phone with tow truck places and I'm going to go for 10 no's today. I'm going to call up and I'm going to get 10 people to tell me no. So I had no pressure on myself going in. And so I called up a bunch of tow truck places in the area and we came across this place just a town over. And I went down, he said, okay, I'm willing to hear what you're talking about. So I went in and I sat down and I was talking to him and I connected with him. He was telling me how he was an immigrant, came over. It was his dream to make it in America, to support his family. And I just listened to his whole story. And he said, this cash discount program sounds great, but I've been hit with a handful of different people who have offered it to me lately, but I'd really like to go with you. He knows that we're in town. We have that personal touch where we go to the same stores. We know, I know where he lives in the neighborhood. He knows where we live. And he said, that's the connection. I feel like you're one of my buddies. I don't want to go with someone from a big bank, an hour away who's never going to be able to come and check on me. But I'd really like the process with you being you're right in town and, making that connection, that local, let's be buddy connection.
Yeah, that's huge. Yeah, so I think so you guys have been already doing some cold calls, right? And just really using that to set up appointments. Now, when you cold call them, and I know I'm diving into weeds a little bit, but I think for most people who aren't maybe as connected as you guys, this might be a little bit more relevant, which is when you do cold call some of these merchants yourself, the prospects, what are some of the scripts or things that you're seeing on the phone to get them to bite?
I call up and you got to catch somebody in the right mood to get you to be able to talk to the decision maker. So first and foremost, you're looking to be a little friendly, but we call up and I say, hi, my name's Peter. I'm the new local agent from Merchant Automation. I just like to introduce myself to the local companies. I'm wondering what you guys are paying in credit card rates and if I can talk to the owner. And hopefully you know what the owner's name is before you make the call. But I introduce myself as the new local agent who wants to introduce myself to businesses around town. So I try to position myself as, you know, the local guy who's going to be around there when, if you have a question, we can help you out and to get your foot in the door. And it's worked a couple of times.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that idea that I try to tell the agents all the time that you know, like you said, let's see what kind of mood they're in, you know, because sometimes people will say no just because they're in a bad mood, you know. But if you realize that, okay, I'm gonna call them back next week, you know, that no doesn't have to stop you from continuing to proceed forward. You just judge it like, hey, the guy was in a bad mood. Somebody ran over his cat, or somebody called off sick you know, he's got a lot of work to do. Same thing when you walk in cold to a business. If you see the guy, the owner is like on the phone and directing stuff, you're just like, okay, this is not a good time. I'm gonna come back another time, you know, because you know they're gonna be busy. They're gonna say, yeah, I'm not interested right away. But if you can come in and say, hey, how's it going? Hey, Aaron, did you watch the game last night? Oh my gosh, that was nuts. You know, what a pass. Boom, boom, boom. Yeah, well, you know what? I was just in the area introducing myself to the other business owners. And, you know, I want to let you know that, you know, I do merchant services now and I want to eliminate all your fees. And boom, it started like that. But you built a little bit of rapport. You got it. The person is smiling. You know what I'm saying? That's when you can move forward, when you got the person smiling or they're available. If they're not available, then don't even, you know, just say, okay, I'll come back another day. And the fact that these guys have an edge because they realize that and they deal with people every day and they're bartenders, so they know people, you know, they deal with them right there, right face to face every day.
Yeah.
And those are key things that you learn, that they've learned, not necessarily in sales, but just in life, key things that they've learned, that is naturally sales.
Now, one of the other things that we found is that you got to take the chances. So one of the first clients that we got was a barber shop, and we were out doing cold call, knocking on doors on different local businesses. And on this particular business, it said they were already doing a cash discount program at 3.9%, set it right on their door. So I said, okay, Mark, let's just skip this business altogether. It was a barber shop. Let's just skip this business because they're already doing it. And Mark looked at me and said, no, let's go in and see if we can help them out better. So we walked in there and just started, you know, kind of BSing with the business owner. And we asked him how he liked his processing, and he was kind of happy with it. But what he did all of a sudden say was, the one problem I have is I don't like to have to take my machine and hand it to the customer and watch them give me a tip. I wish they had their own screen to use. So by listening to what the business owner's problem was, who was already using this cash discount program, we were able to offer a screen for, you know, a Valor on one side for the merchant to use and a screen on the other side for the customer to use. And that was all it took to have him make the switch over. Once again, we're the local guys coming in, listening to what his problem was and solving it for him. And he stopped doing what he was doing with the last processor and said, you guys are awesome. And now he's processing right with us.
Very happy.
And that's amazing because and a lot of times in that situation, you solve this problem and you may not even have to have lowered the cash discount rate or just lowered it a little bit because you solved one of his problems. And we do that all the time, Aaron. We sign accounts where if somebody's on 4% cash discount, we just keep them on 4% because we eliminated $200-300 of extra fees they had on the back end. You know, so yeah, definitely don't shy away from those clients. Actually, any client, you never know. Just build in a conversation, and they may have the cash discount, or they may be with the bank in downtown New York that they never talk to the agents. You know, they don't have an agent where you're just going to come in and you're going to become that agent. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, and you never know until you go in there and have a conversation. So that's really very important as well. Cool, guys. I will wrap it up here in the next few minutes. Any kind of last words or parting words of advice or wisdom that's worked for you guys, for people who might be watching this?
Just don't get discouraged if they say no. That's probably the most important part. You know, don't take it negatively. Not everybody's going to want the sale, you know, but if you go about the right way and don't push too hard, you know, pick the right time to talk, you know, you'll get in there somehow.
Yeah, John's been really good about telling us, pick the right time to talk. I know I'm reiterating what you already said, but sometimes you got to catch them in the right mood and just knock back, make that rapport, say hello, let them know you're in the area and you're here if and when they're ready to make that change.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'll just say one final thing is like really key is I remember Mark and Peter early on in being in coming in on the Facebook lives and the trainings, being present, asking questions during that time, sending me messages, until they figured it out. And then once they figured it out, now they're just, they got it down now. They got past the point where they've pretty much learned almost everything in a very short period of time. And they're able to reach out to our office. A lot of times they reach out to me, sales questions, proposals, but I don't hear from them when they submit the applications. I just see them coming in. I'm like, oh wow. So like in my mind, I'm like, they're already on their own, but they do have the support of our office, of Jordan and Maria, that are helping them out, what options on equipment, getting the equipment deployed. And, they've successfully deployed already a lot of equipment that I have nothing to do with that. I just see their applications coming in and their equipment's going out. And then, like you said, the biggest thing is the key is to continue to go out in the community and just introduce yourself, and don't take a no as okay, that they're not interested. A lot of times they're going to say no to anything. Okay. I have another rep that goes out and texts me. He's like, John, I'm going to go out and get my 10 no's today. Okay. So I say, go out there and get the no's. Getting the no's is part of the process. So go out there and get your no's, and then you're going to get closer to your yeses. Okay. So keep building up the no's. Don't be afraid of the no's. Accept the no's. And once you get better at your rebuttals, then you're going to be able to just say, whenever there's only a few objections that they're going to have, only 5 to 6 total objections. You're going to learn them. You're going to get better at delivering them. And these guys are the perfect example of, just coming in, taking this business serious, and they're going to be super successful.
Thank you. Thank you very much, John.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Glad to have you guys on the team.
One last question for you guys. We don't invite everybody that we interviewed these on for this what I'm about to say, but you guys would be a great fit. So I'm not sure if you guys know, we do our Wednesday Facebook Live trainings in the Facebook group. People bring for people who are not in the program yet. Paul usually will interview maybe 1 or 2 clients per month and just kind of walk through their story, kind of what's working for them. Kind of similar to what you're talking about here, really, but really just for like a new audience of people who aren't in the program. Would you guys be open to doing that maybe sometime in the next few weeks?
Absolutely.
Okay, I'll have Roberta reach out to you guys in the Facebook group chat, and we'll schedule it.
That'd be really nice, Aaron. Thank you very much.
Of course. Yeah, thank you guys. And thank you guys for dropping so much value on this call today. And obviously you guys are off to a really hot start. So looking forward to seeing that continue to scale. But otherwise, have a great rest of your day, and we'll wrap up here.
All right, gentlemen. Have a good one.
Cool.
You
All
too.
right.
Aaron, thank you.
Yep.